Yeah, a couple of things. You ever heard the story of the guy who's trying to get a word from the Lord? He takes his Bible and he says, I'm just going to open it up real quick and find something. And he opens it up and he goes, and Judas hanged himself. That's not a real good start. He says, I'll just try it again. He goes, go ye therefore and do likewise. Still not very good. Do what ye would do quickly. I was looking for something this morning, I did the same thing. Man of faith that I am, I opened my Bible up and said, give me something for them this morning, Lord. Give them the entire message. Don't leave one word of all I have for them to hear. For perhaps they will listen and turn from their evil ways, and then I can withhold all the punishment I'm ready to pour out upon them because of their evil deeds. Boy, you guys, I am so grateful that I live in a room of grace. How many of you are familiar with John Lynch's material in Room of Grace? Maybe you'll have kind of where I'm coming from in this talk. This thing called grace is so unbelievable and so amazing. And even this morning, as I was preparing over time, when Kevin asked me to do this, I was honored. Got thinking about what would I say. I said 15 minutes, that's not enough time to say what I have to say. And then God said if you had all day, you wouldn't know what to say. So, you're just caught in the room of grace. This grace thing just gives you the liberty to be who you are and to not have to put on anything except just come and be Christ in Jerry Lynn this morning. And it'll be okay, even on my worst day. So, and quite frankly, as things kind of came together, they didn't come together. I struggled with what to say, what to do. It came together, it fell apart, it came together, it fell apart, it was on and on. But I did pick one phrase, and it's interesting. The one phrase that I have for what I would like you guys to get today, and Chuck, if you want to pop that up there, and it fits perfectly with what Kevin just talked about. There ain't no together people, just some with whiter teeth. And I'm telling you, guys, if you can get to live in that, and if you're not familiar with the book Bo's Cafe that Lynch and his partners wrote, I would really recommend that you get it. It's a novel. It's just a fun story, but it imparts all these truths of grace. It's pretty cool. So with that, and you can just leave that up, Chuck. Given that I was really trying to finalize this yesterday morning, and God spoke very clearly to me. He said, if you prepare for one more minute, everything that you do tomorrow will be a pose. It'll be a fake. It won't be you. It'll be you filling in the squares trying to please Kevin Miles. He said, you got to stop right now. No more preparation. So what am I going to do with this? He said, random thoughts. So that's what you're going to get today, guys. These random thoughts. He said, take your notes that you have. And I got a bunch of them, man. I had a great talk. I could probably be here a while. But he said, take your notes, put them on the church podium in front of you, and see what pops off the page as I stand here. So I stand here not quite knowing exactly what Kevin said. And I so appreciate that vulnerability, Kevin, because it emboldened me to stand here this morning and not know what to do. And one of the things we'd thought about doing, as we talked about this weekend, was that we might put the names, I think Kevin mentioned last night, the names of all the speakers in a hat, and one at a time pull them out. You know how at Hearts Alive Free we never tell you what's going on? maybe we thought we'd give you guys a little dose of that to ourselves. None of us knew what would be going on. Okay, Spalding, you're next. Problem is, see, Spalding could do that. He'd get away with that. And then I'd have had to follow Spalding, and I'm glad I'm here. See, so anyhow, we do have fun. This is a great bunch of guys to be around, and you guys are a great bunch of guys to be around. We are so grateful you're here. This is a group of good men. Group of good men with good hearts. Don't ever let go of that. This is a group of good men, all of you with good hearts. I think, yeah, we got started a little late, so I'm not going to do what I thought I would do here. I was going to give you a little bit of my story. I'll try to I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of the Cliff Notes version of the story of my life. And one of the reasons I think I'll do this is that I've had a couple guys recently that I was just talking to, and we were spending some time, and it got into my story, and they go, "Wow, we didn't know that about you. You were, we thought you kind of were even keel and everything was good, and you're becoming an old man now, and Grace found you, and yeah, it's pretty even." Well, what they don't know is my life's been a roller coaster, a huge roller coaster. And the only thing that I can find good out of that is that, in fact, in the fun part of my life, I love roller coasters. I'm not so sure I love it in my life, but roller coaster would describe my life. I was raised as a Lutheran. I don't remember much of my childhood, but I was pretty smart. I have a Sunday school pin that hangs down to here to prove it. I knew, but I didn't know. I got to college, met a cute farm girl, was studying mechanized agriculture. If I had it to do all over again, I probably would not. I'm in the aviation business. I probably wouldn't be an aviator. I would probably be a farmer in South Dakota. And sometimes I wonder about that. But I was messing around, too much partying, too many things going on. I became a part-time student in Vietnam era draft time, which meant within a very short period of time, I would have been drafted. I chose to join for what they call the Warrant Officer Flight Training Program. I became a helicopter pilot and did that for 4 years, which kept me and got me going into aviation. At the end of those 4 years, I had an opportunity to get into business jets, and I've been flying business jets ever since for 42 plus years, about 20,000 hours worth, and it's been pretty interesting. It's also provided me with some opportunities to be pretty sinful, and those are some of the places that I regret in my life. And just not too long ago, I was in South Dakota last summer on my motorcycle. And God took me to a place of great pain. I was raised in South Dakota. I was in the Black Hills. Went to a place where I had experienced great pain several times, but primarily about 22 years ago, when I was there on my honeymoon in my third marriage. And he spoke to me. He said, "You have to get out of the regret of your life, Jerry." 10 years ago, before I knew anything about this grace message, I would have heard, I served a tyrant God. I served a God who was always mad at me, who was always waiting for me to do something wrong. The other shoe was always going to drop. There was nothing I could do to please him. I felt like I was the dog in the hare and hound race. No matter how hard, if you've ever seen a hare and hound race, if you've ever been to a dog race, no matter how hard that dog runs, he will never catch that rabbit, ever. And that's who I felt I served. The message of Wild at Heart came into my life. A friend of mine, "You got to read this book, it'll change your life." I was on a trip to California. Came home, my wife works at the church part-time, gets a great discount at our bookstore. I said, Linda, how about checking at the bookstore to see whether or not they have Wild at Heart? I'd like to read it. She reaches into her stash drawer, which is right behind her, and pulls out the book, Wild at Heart. Been wondering how, Jerry, I might get you to read this someday. Wow. And being the spiritual giant that I am, I immediately dug in my heels and went, wait a minute, this book is about fixing me now, and I'm not going to read that book. And it took me 6 months to pick it up. And when I picked it up, I couldn't put it down. That thing got to me, and it was the first time that I realized and understood, kind of understood. You ever heard the phrase, and I wish I had these down, but I don't, so see if you can catch them. Information does not equal knowledge. Knowledge does not equal understanding, and understanding does not equal wisdom. Wild at Heart gave me some information that I desperately wanted to become knowledge and understanding. And I can see it. I don't have the book here. I wish I did, but it's on the page. It's right here. It says, God is crazy about you. He's in love with you. He's nuts about you. He's ticked off about all the stuff that's happened to you. And in another place, the story of your life is one of a long and brutal assault against your heart by an enemy who knows you and he fears you. I'm going, my gosh, can any of this be real? I decided to sign up for a boot camp in 2003. Hemmed and hawed around with it. Linda now is saying, go do it. I went and signed up, got there and found out I couldn't have signed up. When I signed up, it was pre-lottery, if any of you are familiar with how they do their boot camps now. It was pre-lottery, and they were full that fast, and when I signed up, that boot camp was full. There was no way I could have signed up. The staff out there went, there's no way you signed up when you signed up. I said, well, here I am, and there's my registration. Went out there alone, had the time of my life. Just an unbelievable thing that happened out there. Came back kind of with a heart to do this thing, spread this to my friends, spread it to a neighborhood, spread it to West Michigan. And out of that, a bunch of knuckleheads got together. And I guess the only one that I'm not sure was a knucklehead isn't here today, and that would be Spadowski. But we got together, and Hearts Alive Free was born. And it was born at Timberwolf Lake Young Life Camp. We talked about that for a minute last night. And just like today, we're nervous, we're concerned. We aren't sure what's going to happen here. This is a new adventure. 10 years ago, we didn't have a clue what we were doing. But God met us. And he walked with us and talked with us. Our primary speaker collapsed 2 months before the event was supposed to go. We didn't know what we were going to do. And the pieces just kept fitting together. And the message of that was my message to you guys today. Do what you're going to do from your hearts, and it'll be okay. Doesn't make any difference that the guy who's the keynote speaker isn't going to be there. It'll come together. Say it from your heart, and it'll be okay. You guys, say what you're going to say. Live how you're going to live from your heart, and it'll be okay. That year we had 100 guys up there. We were $12,000 short the day we finished. 2 weeks later when we settled up, without us even asking for a single thing, we had $200 in the bank. Because God met us there. And we stepped out and we did it from our hearts. And it was quite a ride. Random thoughts. What's going to pop out of here now? How am I doing, Richie? I'm done, aren't I? Yeah. Here comes the random thoughts, for sure. Do you guys understand? Can you get it from beyond information, beyond knowledge, but get to the understanding of knowing that you have a new heart? Ezekiel 26, something, I think we have that one, Chuck, don't we? I will give you a new heart. I will give you new and right desires and put a new spirit within you. I will take out your stony heart and give you a new heart of love. You ever, I mean, over and over we hear stories of people that have been recipients of a heart in a heart transplant, and what happens? A family wants to hear that heart. They put that stethoscope on that guy's chest, and whose heart do they hear? They hear that donor's heart. When God puts the stethoscope on my chest today, whose heart does he hear? Would it not be that still beating heart of Jesus Christ, who went to that cross for me and for you, and died, and then was resurrected and ascended into heaven, covered all the bases, made it so that we can live in grace and in love, gave us a new heart. And God hears not my old stony heart, but my new heart of flesh, the heart of love that Jesus has put in me. How about the promise that He'll never leave us or forsake us? Do you get it that He's with you? Kevin just said a little bit ago. Even if He doesn't come back and get in Kevin's boat, does Kevin believe that He's still there and that He has his best interest in mind all the time? Always. He's always there, and He's always for you. He's never against you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And isn't it interesting that He says that our sin is as far as the east is from the west? And this God, he's a pretty smart guy. Because do you realize He doesn't say your sin is as far as the north is from the south? If we take a globe and you start walking north, and guess what? Eventually you'll find south. You'll get there. Get on the equator, boys, and start heading east, and you're never going to find west. That's how far away your sin is from our God, as far as the east is from the west. Think about that. Get that down deep. How about that adulterous woman? Was accused, had all kinds of witnesses there, and Jesus said, let him without sin throw that first stone, and that crowd dispersed. And you say, well, but it was still the law that she should be stoned, right? Well, Jesus not only forgave her, sent her on her way, but He followed the letter of the law, doing it. Because in that time, they had to have 2 witnesses or more in order to convict and condemn somebody. The crowd had dispersed. There was only one person left. It was Jesus, and He hadn't even witnessed it, although He knew. And He told this woman to go. Your sin is forgiven. Are we changed? Am I done? I'm going to run over just a hair because I'm going to send you off with a challenge. And it comes from my friend, John Lynch. Do you guys understand that the moment that you accepted Christ, you became a saint who now sins sometimes? You were a sinner saved by grace. The moment you were saved, you became a saint who sinned sometimes. And you have the DNA of righteousness in you. Nature provides an example of this incredible discrepancy between who we appear to be and who we truly are. Consider the caterpillar. If we brought a caterpillar to a biologist and asked him to analyze it and describe its DNA, he would tell us, I know this looks like a caterpillar. Kevin Miles, Jerry Lind, Jeff Roberts, any one of you. I know it looks like a caterpillar to you, but scientifically, according to every test, including DNA, this is fully and completely a butterfly. Wow, God has wired into a creature looking nothing like a butterfly a perfectly complete butterfly identity. And because the caterpillar is a butterfly in essence, it will one day display the behavior and attributes of a butterfly. The caterpillar matures into what is already true about it. And in the meantime, berating the caterpillar for not being more like a butterfly is not only futile, but it'll probably just hurt its tiny little ears. So it is with us. God has given us the DNA of righteousness. We are saints. Nothing we do will make us more righteous than we already are in Christ. Amen. Nothing we will do will alter the reality. God knows our DNA. He knows that we are Christ in me, Christ in Jerry Lind, Christ in Kevin Miles. On my worst day, I'm Christ in Jerry Lind. And he is now asking us to join him in what he knows is true. Do you know that it's true? So we're going to go to a covenant of silence right now, guys. And here's the assignment. You don't even have to write it down. And I'm going to read it from John's book. Best thing you could do at this moment is to put this book down, lace up your shoes, and take a long, slow walk. And imagine such a life. That Christ is in me. That God knows our DNA. And he is asking us to join him in what he knows is true. Daring to risk that in believing that his arm is around us and he is not embarrassed or disgusted or ashamed of any of you. Everybody understands what covenant of silence is? Covenant of silence is that we just go from here quietly, no conversation with anybody else. We know there are some other groups on the campus, so you have to kind of deal with that. But just go out for a walk right now and imagine such a life that you are Christ in whatever your name is, that you're perfect, that you have the DNA of a butterfly today.